It's something you run into every so often when you're a musician.
Wait. Did we tell who we are?
Oh, I forget things like that. We're talking about alcohol. I am Rob Glanzman.
And I'm Will Miller, and this is WILLPOWER and ROBBERY.
Yeah.
Ooh, I almost forgot. I don't know how I could forget that, but I almost forgot.
Where to begin with this wonderful elixir, alcohol? You can't avoid talking about this, right? As a producer, as a musician, as a singer.
As a musician, it's kind of...
It's almost like a rite of passage that it's kind of like joining a fraternity, right? It's like if you're not drinking or smoking or doing something, maybe that's a historical view, but I think over the years we've kind of, inherited that from, shall we say...
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what the correlation for singers is with drinking before a show. I don't know if does that make you feel less inhibited?
All I can tell you is the shows that I used to go to, I could smell it on the band, and I was like not in the prime seats, right?
And what about recording?
Let's talk about that. So let's talk about, from at least my perspective, the worst nightmare, I'll call it, from a producer's perspective.
Wait, was I
this required? No.
Oh, good.
You were a good boy. You were insane, right? Here's the scenario. I need a prop for this.
Well, you got a prop for this?
All right. Door kicks in.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, dude, I'm fucking ready to record, man. And he walks in.
Are you kidding?
Now, this looks like it's been tapped pretty heavily, right?
What's that?
If you have tequila, rather strong tequila too. I swear to God, if I ever see somebody walk in my studio with a half a bottle of tequila popped, and it's even worse, the whole band walks in and they like,
oh my gosh,
they pop like one of those in, and they give a couple of coats. They start setting up a goddamn bar in my, right? And I'm like looking at these guys like, is this a requirement for what we're gonna do here?
Happen?
Oh, this happened. where I had guys walk in and I was recording a live band, and it is a nightmare for producers for a variety of reasons, right? One is we got a lot of expensive stuff.
That's one.
Right? I mean, they're playing on my kit, they're playing on using my stuff. The slightest wrong arm movement will send stuff hurtling, right? I mean, we're talking a lot of technology. But, there's something about guys when they get into a studio that feel like they can't do their best unless they're lit up. That's been not the norm, but certainly I've seen it to the point where it just doesn't make sense to continue. And I think
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it happens, and it's something that we wanted to address for a home studio too. I think, because. Let's face it. You're both there. You're burning the midnight oil. Hey, listen, we've had our beers at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but at 3 a.m, we're pretty much finished recording.
That's
so
true
that's
too.
A different story.
Right, and we haven't been drinking all night. But it's this is true of any artist, I guess. Be it alcohol, any other type of drug. It's like guys that can't produce without feeling like they're inebriated in some way, or they've tapped into a different realm through some kind of psychedelic shit, right? It's sad, but it's something I think it's important for us to talk about.
Yeah.
Because, you guys are going to be doing this by yourselves. And you guys are going to be, struggling at times, and...
It's definitely a struggle going into a studio, especially if you're in a studio where you're not comfortable with your producer right away. If it's at the beginning of your relationship,
right.
One.
Right. You don't even know him. You're walking in when you're half. Right.
That's it. It's not only bad for that, but it's also terrible for your voice. I mean, alcohol just constricts the vocal cords. You're never going to be able to perform as good with alcohol, or being under the influence of alcohol, as you are sober. It's just not going to happen. Your voice is not.
I would argue that probably some of the greatest albums in the world were recorded under the influence of at least something. Right? I mean...
All right, okay.
But
if you are a musician, if you are a singer or a musician who is widely known, where you have a following behind you, pretty much any of your fans are going to buy your music, whether you're high, whether you're drunk, they don't care, because they're listening to you. When you're starting out from nothing and you're nobody, you got to give it your best foot forward. You got to put your best shot out there. You can't just go out there and go, okay, I know I can sing with being half lit, it's going to be, you just can't do that as a musician. I don't think.
It's interesting. A lot of the music that I listened to growing up, I actually didn't want to know what the bands were like.
No,
meaning, like, I loved the music, but the crap that went on behind the scenes, it would just like kind of just sour my opinion of what was going on. It's almost like listening to a DJ, right, all your life, and then you see him, and it kind of like ruins it for you. Cause
actually, it was always the other way around
for you.
For me. So I really did like to see or to hear a band that went into this drunken stupor and like messed up the hotel room they were in, assaulted people. I thought that was fantastic.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. I thoroughly enjoy it as entertainment, but when you're in somebody's studio,
of course,
and specifically a home studio, right, where and you got camaraderie.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, the reason I say that is because then 5 minutes later they would be in the studio and they would be drunk and and it's kind of an illusion. I don't think that you could physically be intoxicated to the point of falling over and still come up with such a great album. I don't know. Maybe it's possible, but
maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it's genetics. I don't know.
Maybe it's genetics, but definitely not in a home studio.
We don't have it.
No, I sure don't. That's why I don't.
Yeah. But I mean, from the singer's perspective, though, we always talk about what's the do you drink tea before it? You should not drink alcohol. I mean, what's your opinion, advice-wise, as you can give these guys?
Absolutely no alcohol.
Do you prep at all?
I do. So I drink water. I think room temperature water is probably the best thing you can have. I think if you have to have tea, make sure there's no milk products. Don't use any of that. Lemon would help a little bit, and honey if you're going to drink tea. But I would say nothing with an overabundance of sugar in it. I don't think that's good for you.
Can you tell when you've had something like tea or before you sing and when you don't have it, if you listen to yourself? Or is it just like if you drink that to make your voice more relaxed or to make your vocal cords more relaxed, can you actually tell the difference before, if you like A-B'd yourself and said, here's where I just went in cold and sang versus here's where I went in cold and prepped myself somehow?
It depends.
Yeah.
So,
because it's important to be consistent in what you do here, right? Because you're creating an album. My take would be do the same thing every time.
You should,
if it works for you.
But I think it's also based on your vocal health of the day or the time before you're getting ready to sing. So sometimes I could come in to sing with you and not have prepped so much, but I know that day I'm on point with my voice. Yeah. So I knew going into it I was going to be perfect. Yep. Then there were other days for me talking, because I do have a regular job, talking a lot and maybe laughing, screaming. I knew by the time I had to sing, all right, I should have kept a little quiet, knowing that I was going in on, let's say, on a Wednesday and I'm singing. Meanwhile, I'm screaming, I'm yelling at people. Sure. So then I physically have to prep. I would drink a lot of water. I would try to drink some tea. I would try to have some honey in the tea, a little bit of lemon in the tea to do everything I could possibly do prior to being able to sing. And also, I would do a little warm up by singing before I get there, because I also sometimes don't know the environment that I might be in. And in the case in the studio that we were in, I always knew the environment. I knew how warm it was going to be, how cool it was going to be. So I actually knew. Sometimes in the studio you don't physically know.
But interesting. But what we're talking about here is, if you're going to be doing it yourself, more than likely you're going to be in the same environment every week. So you do have a luxury and an advantage.
I'm not sure if you're going to be in the same. Being in our environment, I knew. Yeah. But if you're doing it from home,
that's the assumption.
The assumption that you're doing it from home. You don't necessarily know. I mean, I think in our case, you prepped it because you knew exactly how I am as a singer. Right. So you knew I couldn't have it too cold. Yeah. You knew I had to have something to drink. Yeah. You knew just how I am how my idiosyncrasies are when I come into the house. Sometimes I have to have my head,
There's a whole a ritual.
Right,
that I have to, I guess, wait to have completed before we can begin.
Exactly. So if you're the producer, I guess you need to know your singer and know how they are. You have to ask them prior.
And the point of this whole thing is, as a producer, don't be afraid to bring this up. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to assume that you're working one-on-one with somebody, and we've talked about the fact of being invested in me being invested in what you're doing and you coming and expecting the best you can get out of it. Don't be, as from my side of the chair, don't be afraid to bring this up. Say, hey, dude, you could play off, no 8-packs, all right? As I don't care if you have a beer, but, and then you even if you have to make up some kind of excuse, like, well, your voice is probably going to suffer if you do that. I mean, listen, I don't fault anybody for doing anything, but the point is, we're here to figure out how to make this the best you can in basically a relatively unclean environment. And the more you can help it out of the gate, the better. And alcohol, I've seen people that can play without it. I've seen people that can't play without it. I've seen drummers who couldn't keep on time until they had a 6-pack. Wow. And we actually wrote a song called 8 Heinies Down for this guy because he basically could not get on the beat until he went through 8 Heinekens. So it was a big funny thing, and it takes a while for someone to pound down 8 Heinekens before they get playing to sink in. But for a singer's perspective, it's even more critical.
It's more critical. You just cannot. I don't see how you could function with alcohol and be able to sing. I mean, for me anyway, being in the studio, a lot of times I wrote the songs and I couldn't remember the words, so I had to always have I always had to have the words, and also it's sometimes a personal or an anxiety thing where you just don't want to forget any of the words, so I wrote them down because of that. Yeah. Whatever that is going on with me, I needed to have the words in 3 places. If I'm singing here, if I had to look over here, it needed to be here. It needed to be here, and it needed to be in front of me. That's the only way I felt like I could function the right way, because I was so in tune with how I had to stand, where I had to stand, what I had to do. Sometimes I have to take in deep breaths to be able to hit a note or to sing something. I don't know if I would be that coherent if I had alcohol.
Sure. Or anything else for that matter, I mean, you don't smoke, for example.
No.
Right? Now, again, I've had experience with singers that do and don't, and I really couldn't tell the difference, to be honest.
Smoking, I think, is a little different.
Maybe an occasional hack or something here and there, but I mean, I think the moral of the story for this week is know yourself, right?
You have to, right.
It's true of anything in life, but we're stating a little bit of the obvious here, but also if you're working with somebody, don't be afraid to bring this up in like a non-confrontational way, because it is important, because it is something you're going to have to work with. And let's face it, a lot of people change after a threshold, attitude-wise, everything else, and that's, I think, more of a problem than
I think that's important for a producer. I think if you're producing someone and they're coming in, I think you should probably lay that on the line right at the beginning. Yeah. Just even if it's for nothing else, to say, listen, I want the best possible take from you, and I want to give you the best I can possibly give you. Really, alcohol should not play a part in recording. After you finish for the night or the day, you want to sit there and drink a whole bottle of whatever Bacardi.
Yeah, I mean, those are my bottles. Yeah. I mean, make no mistake. But
if you want to do that
at time and place.
At the end, that's fine, but never while you're recording, because you'll end up doing more takes and more takes and more takes. And let's face it, if you can pay for that, but if you can't, it really doesn't make any sense to try to do something like that and risk messing up a take that would otherwise be perfect.
And by the way, to finish it off, the same goes in the opposite direction. You could be like this straight edge singer, right? And the producer is, he's got to clear his beer bottles to get to his console.
That's definitely like a sign of.
I haven't been in that situation yet, but it's realistic because remember, you're petitioning somebody, you're working with somebody that's in their home.
Yeah. So more likely than not, in the home it would probably be. In a studio, probably not, because that's.
But we're the specifics of what we're doing this for you guys is, there are things you're going to run into that you're probably not going to run into anywhere else except for a home studio situation. And again, I mean, we don't want to sound like we're priests here, right? But it is something that you should take into account and make sure that you speak your mind, because it's better to get in front of it ahead of time, either for yourself or who you're working with, than 6 months down the road.
After you've done a couple songs and you realize, man, this sucks.
I'm ready for a drink. What about you?
Oh, I can do a couple of drinks.
See you next week.
Thank you for watching. Again, let me just tell you, because I always forget, please subscribe to our channel. Like us on Facebook. Oh, I'm getting this right. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope eventually. All right.
You could not have done that if you'd done a few shots.
Yeah, exactly.
Later.
See you later.